moving towards kind of the concluding topic of today's podcast, and it's still very much linked to everything that we've discussed. And that is the birth of the Wahhabi movement, or the early Najd movement, or whatever various words people use.
It's still collected, isn't it?
So I mean, talking on the issue of Khuruj, talking about the issue of rebellion and legitimacy of rulers, etc. There was in the middle to late 18th century, there was an alliance formed by a Shaykh called Mohammed Ibn Abdul Wahhab and the Al Saud household, right? And this was no doubt a theological and political movement. You cannot deny this.
Very politically motivated.
And which then transpired into the first rebellion of 1811 of the Al Saud against the Ottomans, the Ottoman Caliphate. And that's what it was. Let's not deny it. It was Khuruj against a legitimate standing caliphate.
Yes, dear ruler, I will listen to everything you say because my aqidah says whatever you say, Sahib sunnah is to obey the ruler. What BS anyway? That's their version. SubhanAllah. Brothers, be wise. This is a version of Islam that suits specific royal families and rulers, and so they propagate it. This is not the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. It is not even the methodology of Ibn Taymiyyah, much less Ibn Abdul Wahhab. How can the people who claim to follow Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn Abdul Wahhab have such a skewed understanding of obedience to the ruler? This is called brainwashing, called brainwashing, called brainwashing.
Mohammed Ibn Saud and Mohammed Ibn Abdul Wahhab, did they rebel against the Ottoman Empire?
So again, these people are not the Prophet ﷺ. They are not a proof in and within themselves. So that's important that we understand. We believe Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The Prophet is the one ta'atu fi ma amar wa ijtinabu ma naha anhu wa zajar wa an la yu'bad Allahu illa bima sharah. Complete and utter obedience is for the Prophet ﷺ. If Ibn Abdul Wahhab, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn al-Qayyim, anyone goes against an oppressive Muslim leader, doesn't make it a proof. It's not a proof that you brought to the table. The proof is in the Quran and the Sunnah and the ijma. And that stands here. Okay? But let's respond to this issue. I already mentioned before, if you recall properly, that Mohammed ibn Abdul Wahhab, he's from the scholars who transmitted an ijma of not going against an oppressive Muslim leader. And that's something that's present in his aqidah. If you go to a risala known as Risalatu li Ahli al-Qasim, it's called. He said, Abdul Wahhab mentions in there, Muhammad Ibn Abdul Wahhab, he mentions his aqidah. He says, وَأَرَى I see وُجُوبَ السَّمْعِ وَالطَّاعَةِ لِأَئِمَّةِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ بَرِّهِمْ وَفَاجِرِهِمْ. I see that it's obligatory to obey the leader, the Muslim leaders, whether they are righteous or whether they are transgressors. مَا لَمْ يَأْمُرُوا بِمَعْصِيَةِ اللَّهِ. As long as they don't command the people to do what? Sins. وَمَنْ وَلِيَ الْخِلَافَةِ. And anyone who takes khilafah, وَجْتَمَعَ عَلَيْهِ النَّاسُ. And the people come together for him. وَرَضُوا بِهِ. And they are pleased with him. وَغَلَبَهُمْ بِسَيْفِهِ. And he takes over them with his sword. حَتَّى صَارَ خَلِيفَةً. And he becomes the leader. وَجَبَ طَاعَتُهُ. His leader, the obedience is obligatory for him. وَحَرُمَ الْخُرُوجُ عَلَيْهِ. And it's haram to do khuruj on him. He also said, rahimahullah ta'ala, in his usul al-sunnah, he said, الأصل الثالث أن من تمام الاجتماع السمع والطاعة لمن تأمر علينا ولو كان عبدا حبشيا فبين الله هذا بيانا شافيا كافيا بوجوه من أنواع البيان شرعا وقدرا ثم صار هذا الأصل لا يعرف عند أكثر من يدعي العلم فكيف العمل به. So he says this in his أصول الستة, and it's also mentioned in his الدرة السنية في الأجوبة النجدية, the first volume, page 173, where he affirms this creed. So that's the first response, inshallah ta'ala. The second response is that you can't say someone done a khuruj if he's not under that leader.
Which you spoke about before,
okay.
about Hussein and Ibn Zubayr.
And this is the reality, that Dawla Uthmaniyya, Mohammed Ibn Abdul Wahhab and Mohammed Ibn Saud, both of them were not under it. We want to know, prove it. Aziz ibn Bazin, he said, لم يخرج شيخ محمد بن عبد الوهاب على الدولة الخلافة العثمانية فيما أعلم وأعتقد. Ibn Bazin, he said, Abdul Aziz ibn Baz, he said Ibn Abdul Wahhab did not go against the Ottoman Empire. فيما أعلم, according to my knowledge, and I believe. فلم يكن في نجد رئاسة ولا إمارة لأتراك. They didn't have a leadership, and they didn't have anything in Najd. بل كانت نجد إمارات صغيرة وقرى متناثرة. Najd was run by tribal leaders. Everybody had their little place. وعلى كل بلدة أو قرية مهما صورت أمير مستقل. Every part, they had their own leader, however small they were. It didn't matter. وهي إمارات بينها قتال وحروب ومشاجرات, and between them there were fights and يعني quarrels. And والشيخ محمد بن عبد الوهاب لم يخرج على دولة الخلافة وإنما خرج على أوضاع فاسدة في بلده. Ibn Abdul Wahhab, he did khuruj on people's what? People's wrongdoings and crimes. He got out on them on that. فجاهد في الله حق جهاده. He fought in the sake of Allah for that. وصابر وثابر, and he was patient because of it. حتى امتد نور هذه الدعوة إلى البلاد الأخرى, until Tawheed spread in that land, and he also spread elsewhere. And this is inshallah ta'ala something I want to go and discuss more, and I want to speak about if Allah allows me in the future, which is the difference between Muhammad Abdul Wahhab and Ibn Taymiyyah is not different. They're both the same. The only difference is that Ibn Abdul Wahhab was able to execute the things. A lot of the people who have things against Muhammad Abdul Wahhab, which inshallah ta'ala I'm going to spend quality time talking about it, and I'm going to do a lot of series about it, or even maybe a hot seat podcast once if Allah gives us the chance, which is the problem with Ibn Abdul Wahhab. We have to divide it into two. Is it ta'sil? Do you have theoretical problems with him? Are you indifferent with him in terms of aqeedah? Okay, that makes sense. And those people are either quburiyin or liberals or things like that. The second group of people who have things against Muhammad Abdul Wahhab are people who have a problem with him in terms of application. They don't have issues with him in aqeedah. They believe Tawheed, they believe in shirk, they believe in all of the things that he mentions in Kitab al-Tawheed, but they differ with him in his application. Those people, inshallah ta'ala, we can talk to them about the historical events and how it took place. Okay, and the eyewitnesses that were there. Okay, we're not going to be using people who weren't there, who are secondary sources. We're not going to be talking about people who were informed about what was taking place. We'll go to the primary sources, and I won't go into that now because that wasn't the question we're doing. We're speaking about Khuruj.
Yeah, but in essence, the first group, they would disagree with Mohammed Ibn Abdul Wahhab based on his aqeedah, as well as Ibn Taymiyyah. And the second group say we like Ibn Taymiyyah, we agree with him, but Mohammed Ibn Abdul Wahhab, we disagree with him because of the application. It's just that he had the ability to execute his beliefs, and Ibn Taymiyyah didn't. But there was really no difference between the two.
That's the truth. That's the waqqa.
Okay.
Also, what proves that Najd al-Yamama in general and Dawla al-Saud, which was in Dir'iyah specifically, was not under the Ottoman Empire, is what Dr. Salih al-Ubud mentions as well. He said لم تشهد نجد على العموم نفوذا للدولة العثمانية فيما امتد إليها سلطانها ولا أتى إليها ولاة عثمانيون ولا جابت خلال ديارها حامية تركية في الزمان الذي سبق ظهور دعوة الشيخ محمد عبد الوهاب. ومما يدل على هذه الحقيقة التاريخية استقراء تقسيمات الدولة العثمانية الإدارية، فمن خلال رسالة تركية عنوانها قوانين آل عثمان مضامين دفتر الديوان، يعني قوانين آل عثمان فيما يتضمنه دفتر الديوان، ألفها يبان علي أفندي الذي كان أمينا لدفتر الخاقاني سنة, and he mentioned the year 1018 Hijriya, and which was in line with the Gregorian calendar, which it was 1609.
Okay.
ومن خلال هذه الرسالة, this letter, which is an official letter on their side, يتبين, it mentions أنه منذ أوائل القرن الحادي عشر الهجري كانت دولة آل عثمان تنقسم إلى 32 إيالة، منها 14 إيالة عربية، وبلاد نجد ليست منها ما عدا الإحساء إن اعتبرناه من نجد. When you look at their own documentations that they state and they mention the places that the Ottoman Empire was controlling, they don't mention in their Najd. They mention in their Al-Ihsa, if we consider Ihsa to be from Najd, which is not the case. Okay? So the Ottoman Empire didn't want that desert. Why would he want to go to that desert and be there? There was nothing there. There wasn't oil. There was nothing to be there for. So we have Muhammad Abdul Wahhab's works, rahimahullah ta'ala, that which he mentions in his kitab, also مسائل الجاهلية التي خالف فيها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أهل الجاهلية. He doesn't mention all of that. So, and historically there's no Ottoman Empire which he did khuruj on.